My name is Emily Parker, and I'm 28 years old. I still remember that exact moment. Standing there in my long white dress, holding the silver knife with my husband Ryan beside me, ready to cut into our wedding cake. The room was filled with clapping, laughter, music, but my heart, it felt empty. Because when I looked around at all the smiling faces, there was one thing missing. My family. Not a single member of my family was there to see me get married. No mom, no dad, no sister. Nobody. The guests cheering us on were Ryan's relatives and our closest friends. His parents were beaming with pride. His cousins were snapping photos. Even the waiters and musicians seemed happier for me than the people who raised me. As Ryan and I pressed the knife into the frosting, my phone lit up in the pocket hidden inside my dress. A text message. It was from my mom. Just 3 words. We need to talk. Now. Below it I saw 36 missed calls, all from my mom, dad, and even my sister. My hands shook, my stomach dropped. I didn't know if it was fear, anger, or maybe a mix of both. Why were they blowing up my phone now after ignoring me all this time? But before I tell you what that was about, I need to take you back. Back to where it all began. Because if you want to understand why my own family chose not to come to my wedding, you need to understand the family I grew up in. I grew up in a small town in Ohio, in what looked from the outside like the perfect suburban family. My dad, Michael Parker, worked a regular office job. My mom, Susan Parker, was the organized PTA mom type. And then there was my younger sister, Chloe, who was 3 years younger than me. To the world, we were picture perfect. Matching sweaters at Christmas, vacations at the beach every summer. Family photos hung neatly on the walls. But behind closed doors, I always felt like I didn't quite belong. Chloe, my little sister, was the favorite. From the moment she was born, it felt like she was wearing a crown. With her curly blonde hair, big blue eyes, and bubbly personality, everyone loved her. She was the sunshine child. She danced ballet, played violin, and always knew how to charm people. Now don't get me wrong. I wasn't jealous of Chloe's looks or her talents. I was proud of her. What broke my heart was how differently my parents treated the two of us. I still remember one night during high school. I came home holding a letter that said I'd been accepted into the advanced science program. This was a big deal, something I had worked so hard for. I walked into the kitchen, excitement all over my face. "Mom, I got in," I said, waving the letter. She barely glanced at me. She was too busy helping Chloe adjust the ribbons on her ballet costume. "That's nice, honey," she said. "Just leave the letter on the counter so your dad can see it later." That was it. But the same week, Chloe won 3rd place in a local dance competition. Just 3rd place. And what did my parents do? They took us all out to dinner, ordered champagne for themselves, and gave a toast to their little star. I sat there at the table, pushing food around my plate, wondering why my big achievement only got me a passing comment, while Chloe's small win was treated like the greatest thing in the world. And this wasn't just one time. This was the pattern of my entire childhood. I loved math and science. I won academic awards. I earned scholarships. But no matter what I did, my parents never celebrated me the way they celebrated Chloe. When I graduated high school, a huge milestone, my parents didn't even come. You know why? Because Chloe had a recital on the exact same day. "You understand, right?" my mom said to me when I asked her about it. "This recital is really important for her future." I said I understood. But it didn't make the pain any less. By the time I started college, I had learned my place in the family. Chloe was the star. I was the background. So I stopped expecting attention. I stopped calling home as much because every call turned into a conversation about Chloe anyway. Instead, I built my own life. I made friends who cared about me. I focused on my education, majoring in biomedical engineering. And slowly, I realized that maybe I didn't need my family's approval. Maybe I could build a future without it. When graduation rolled around in my senior year, I dared to hope. My parents promised they would come. I saved 4 seats in the auditorium, 2 for them, 1 for Chloe, and 1 for my best friend, Maya. The morning of graduation, I got a text from my mom. It read, "Chloe got a call back for a big audition in New York. We need to drive her there. We're so proud of you, though. Take pictures." I stared at my phone in disbelief. Out of the 4 seats I had saved, only 1 was filled that day. Maya sat proudly cheering me on while my own family drove Chloe to her audition. After college, Maya and I both moved to Boston. She studied psychology, I started my career in biomedical engineering, and we became roommates. She was there for me through everything. Through the missed birthdays, the ignored phone calls, the holidays where I went home and felt invisible. Maya was my family when my real one wasn't. And then when I was 26, I met Ryan. When I was 26 years old, my life changed. It was at a birthday party for a mutual friend. I wasn't even planning on going. I had a long week at work, I was tired, and honestly I just wanted to stay home. But Maya convinced me. "Come on, Emily," she said. "You deserve to have some fun. Who knows, you might even meet someone." I laughed at the time, but as it turned out, she was right. That night I met Ryan Bennett. He was tall with kind brown eyes and a laugh that made everyone in the room turn their heads. Not the fake kind of laugh, but one that came from deep inside. The kind that instantly made you feel comfortable. We got introduced, started talking, and before I knew it, the whole party had slipped away. We sat in a corner, sharing stories about childhood, favorite movies, and life dreams. He told me about his job in software engineering. I told him about my work in biomedical research. We were both nerds at heart, and it felt like I had known him forever. On our third date, I did something I almost never did with anyone new. I opened up about my family. I told him about Chloe, about how my parents had always chosen her over me, about the graduations they missed, the birthdays they forgot, the holidays where I sat at the table quietly ignored. Normally, when I shared this story with people, I got the same response. A polite look of sympathy, a small nod, and then they would change the subject because they didn't know what to say. But Ryan didn't do that. He leaned across the table, looked me straight in the eye and said, "That's not normal, Emily. And it's not okay. You deserve better from the people who are supposed to love you no matter what." Those words hit me harder than I expected. For years, I thought maybe I was just being too sensitive. Maybe I was selfish for wanting more attention. But Ryan, in that one moment, made me realize something I had never allowed myself to fully believe. My pain was real. My family's behavior wasn't normal. It wasn't healthy. The more time I spent with Ryan, the more I began to see myself differently. He never pushed me to call my parents or chase after their attention. Instead, he encouraged me to set boundaries. "You can't change them," he would say gently, "but you can change how you respond to them." It was simple advice, but it changed everything. Ryan also encouraged me to see a therapist. First, I resisted. I thought therapy was only for people going through something dramatic like a divorce or depression. But eventually I agreed. That's how I met Dr. Walker. She was patient, understanding, and she put words to things I had been feeling my whole life. She told me I had experienced emotional neglect. She explained how being constantly overlooked had shaped the way I saw myself. She said that was why I often felt like I wasn't enough even when I achieved great things. Dr. Walker introduced me to something called radical acceptance. Basically, it meant I had to stop expecting my parents to suddenly become the kind of parents I wanted. Instead, I had to accept who they were and lower my expectations. It was painful but also freeing. For the first time, I stopped trying to earn their love. Instead, I started focusing on building a life that made me happy. Ryan became my safe place, my rock. And his family, well, they treated me like I had always belonged. The first time I met his parents, Linda and Mark Bennett, I was nervous. My own family had never really shown me unconditional love, so I didn't know what to expect. But the Bennetts surprised me. Linda hugged me warmly the moment we walked in. Mark cracked a few dad jokes that made me laugh. And Ryan's younger sister, Hannah, pulled me aside and whispered, "Finally, Ryan never brings anyone home. I'm so glad it's you." From that moment on, they welcomed me in. Linda would call me just to chat. Mark sent me news articles about science breakthroughs he thought I'd like. Hannah became the sister I had always wished Chloe could be. "You're part of our family now," Linda told me one evening after dinner. "And in this family, we celebrate everyone's victories, big and small." I excused myself to the bathroom and cried quietly, because those words, simple as they were, felt like something I had been waiting to hear my whole life. 2 years into our relationship, Ryan proposed. It was on our anniversary at the same small movie theater where we had our first date. We sat down to watch a film, and suddenly the screen went black. Then, a custom-made trailer started playing, filled with photos and videos of us together. Our trips, our goofy selfies, the little moments that made up our story. And it all played along with our favorite song. By the time the lights came up, Ryan was kneeling in front of me, holding a simple but beautiful diamond ring. "Emily Parker," he said, You are the strongest, kindest, most brilliant woman I know. Will you marry me? Tears filled my eyes. I laughed and cried at the same time, and of course I said yes. The entire theater erupted in applause. It was perfect. It was us. That night, back at our apartment, as we sipped champagne and celebrated, I felt the happiness mixing with something else. Anxiety, because I knew I had to tell my family. The next day, I dialed my parents' number. My stomach was in knots as I waited for my mom to pick up. "Hi, Mom," I said when she finally answered. "I have some news. Ryan proposed last night. We're engaged." There was a pause, a beat too long. Then she said flatly, "Oh, that's nice. Congratulations." No excitement. No questions about the ring. No plans to celebrate. Just indifference. I tried to push through. "We're thinking of a spring wedding, maybe 6 months from now." "That's quite soon," she said. "Well, let us know the details when you have them." Then, without skipping a beat, she added, "By the way, Chloe just got the lead role in a local theater production. We're so thrilled for her." And just like that, my engagement was overshadowed. Again, despite my family's lukewarm reaction, Ryan and I went ahead with our wedding plans. We decided to have a small ceremony in Cambridge, Massachusetts, at a historic venue we both loved. Around 60 guests. We wanted it to be simple but meaningful, not extravagant. Just us. We picked flowers, lilies, and hydrangeas. We hired a small family-owned restaurant to cater Mediterranean food. We found a photographer whose pictures felt natural, not staged. Every decision felt right. It felt like our wedding would truly reflect who we were as a couple. For months before the big day, we sent out invitations, including ones to my parents, Chloe, and a few extended family members. Weeks went by. No RSVP from any of them. Finally, I called my mom. "Did you get the invitation?" I asked. "Yes," she said. "We've been meaning to call you about that. We'll try to make it, of course, but you know how busy things get." "Mom," I said, my voice breaking a little, "it's my wedding. I really want you all to be there." "Of course, honey," she replied. "We'll do our best." But each time I talked to her after that, it was the same story. Excuses. No offers to help with anything. No real interest. When I asked my dad if he wanted to do the father-daughter dance, he said he'd have to check his schedule. It was clear. They didn't care. Through all this, Maya was my saving grace. She was excited, supportive, and took her maid of honor duties seriously. She threw me a beautiful bridal shower, helped me pick my dress, and listened to me cry more than once when my family disappointed me again. "They'll come around," she promised. "And even if they don't, I'll be right there beside you the whole day." "You are not alone, Emily." Ryan's family, too, stepped in with love. Linda helped with the seating chart. Mark insisted on contributing to the costs. Hannah threw me a bridal shower with their extended family. They made me feel like I belonged. I tried to convince myself that maybe it was just pre-wedding stress making me extra sensitive. But deep down I knew better. Something felt off. Still, I held on to hope. Some small part of me believed that on my wedding day, my parents would finally show up. They'd finally be there for me. I couldn't have been more wrong. 2 weeks before my wedding, I was at work scrolling through Instagram during my lunch break. I was tired, stressed, and juggling last-minute details for the big day. Then suddenly my thumb froze. There it was. A picture of my younger sister, Chloe. She was grinning ear to ear, showing off a sparkling diamond ring on her left hand. The caption read, "He asked." I said yes. Future Mrs. Williams. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. Chloe was engaged. To Daniel Williams, the guy she had only been dating for 6 months. And here's the kicker, no one had told me. Not a text. Not a call. Nothing. The comments under the post were full of congratulations, including several from my parents. My mom had even written, "So happy for our beautiful baby girl. Can't wait to celebrate this weekend." This weekend? My stomach dropped. My wedding was in 2 weeks. What celebration were they talking about? Hands shaking, I called my mom right away. She answered on the second ring, her voice cheerful until she realized it was me. "Mom," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Chloe's engaged?" A pause. Then she said, "Oh, you saw the post?" "Yes. Daniel proposed last weekend. It was so romantic. He took her to that vineyard upstate." Why didn't anyone tell me? I snapped. Well, honey, you've been so busy with your wedding plans, she said lightly. We didn't want to bother you. Bother me? I repeated, stunned. Mom, what is this about celebrating this weekend? My wedding is in 2 weeks. Another pause. Longer this time. Oh, Chloe's having a small engagement party on Saturday, she said. Just family and close friends. This Saturday? I asked, my stomach twisting into knots. Yes, why? She replied innocently. Because, Mom, that's my wedding day. Her tone shifted, suddenly confused. Is it? Oh dear, I thought your wedding was the following weekend. Chloe has had this date planned for her party for a while now. My voice shook as I pushed back. How could she have planned it weeks ago when she just got engaged last weekend? Well, my mom said, her voice hedging, they've known they were going to get engaged. They just made it official recently. I could barely believe what I was hearing. Then she asked the unthinkable. Honey, would it be possible for you and Ryan to reschedule your wedding? We've already put down deposits for Chloe's party, and everyone has made arrangements. For a moment I couldn't even speak. My mother, the woman who was supposed to support me, had just asked me to move my wedding. The day I had been planning for months, the day I had signed contracts, sent invitations, and built my dreams around because of an engagement party. Mom, I said finally, my voice rising despite my best effort to stay calm, we cannot reschedule our wedding. We have 60 guests coming. Everything is booked. Everything is paid for. Well, she sighed like I was being the unreasonable one, I suppose we'll have to figure something out. But you know how important this is for Chloe. She's been dreaming about this engagement for months. And I've been planning my wedding for 6 months. I shot back. You RSVP'd, yes. Dad is supposed to walk me down the aisle. Her solution? We'll try to make it to part of your ceremony, she said casually, and maybe split our time between both events. I ended the call before I said something I couldn't take back. The first thing I did was call Maya. When she heard what my mom had said, she nearly screamed. That's insane, Emily. They cannot expect you to reschedule your wedding for an engagement party. An engagement party? Not even the wedding. I don't know what to do, I admitted, tears welling in my eyes. Do I just accept they won't come? No, she said firmly. You do nothing except go through with your beautiful wedding. If they choose Chloe's party over you, that's on them, not you. And I promise you, Emily, I will be right there the entire day. You won't be alone. Her words gave me strength. That night I told Ryan. I could see the anger flash in his eyes before he calmed himself for my sake. Emily, he said softly, your family is making a choice, and it's a poor one. But that doesn't reflect on you. Our wedding will be wonderful because we'll be surrounded by people who actually love us. But what if none of them come? I whispered, voicing the fear that had been eating at me. Then we'll still get married, he said firmly. We'll still celebrate. And we'll still start our life together. My family will be there. Our friends will be there. And most importantly, we'll be there, promising to be each other's family for the rest of our lives. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to feel comfort in his words. But inside, the pain was almost unbearable. How could my entire family choose Chloe again? That night, I cried in Ryan's arms until there were no tears left. The next day, I tried to reach out to Chloe directly. I sent her a text. Congrats on your engagement. I wish you had told me personally. Is there any way you could reschedule your party? I'd love for you to be at my wedding. Her reply came hours later. Thanks. Sorry, everything is already set for the party. Maybe you could come for a little bit after your reception. It's going to be epic. Epic. As if I could just leave my own wedding to show up at her engagement party. The casual disregard in her words made my blood run cold. I didn't respond. Over the next few days, I got more texts from my mom. Each one made it clearer that they had chosen Chloe's party over my wedding. One message read, "We'll try to stop by your ceremony if we can get away from setup for Chloe's party. Hope you understand. Family comes first. Family comes first." The irony hit me like a punch. In their minds, Chloe was family. I apparently wasn't. The day before my wedding came, I had left several voicemails for my parents, begging them to at least come to the rehearsal dinner. No answer. The venue was beautiful, sunlight streaming through the tall windows. Guests began to arrive, all smiling and excited. Ryan's family filled the room with laughter. His mom hugged me, his dad clapped Ryan on the back. His sister took photos of everything. And my family? Nowhere to be seen. We went through the rehearsal without them. Our officiant, a friend from college, guided us with humor. Ryan's 12-year-old cousin, the ring bearer, had everyone laughing with his serious face. It should have been joyful. But the empty space on my side of the aisle felt like a knife to the heart. Then my phone buzzed. A text from my mom. Busy preparing for Chloe's party tomorrow. Good luck with the rehearsal. Love you. Love you. Those words felt so hollow. Ryan squeezed my hand. They're not coming, are they? He whispered. No, I said flatly. They're busy with Chloe. Then it's their loss, he replied firmly. At the rehearsal dinner later that night, Ryan's parents had reserved a private room at a cozy Italian restaurant. The table was decorated with roses and candles. They had even put place cards for my family, which sat empty. I held it together until appetizers arrived. Then I excused myself to the bathroom, where I leaned against the sink and took deep breaths, forcing the tears back. When I returned, I noticed Linda, Ryan's mom, had quietly removed the empty place cards and closed the gaps in the table. She gave me a gentle smile, and I felt a rush of gratitude for her thoughtfulness. The dinner was filled with laughter, toasts, and warmth. If anyone noticed the sadness in my eyes, they kindly ignored it. Maya sat beside me, keeping me grounded. Before we left, she leaned in and whispered, "Tomorrow will be perfect. I'll be at your hotel at 9 in the morning with coffee and breakfast. We'll get you ready, and you'll be the most beautiful bride Boston has ever seen." I hugged her tightly. "I don't know what I'd do without you." "You'll never have to find out," she promised. That night, as Ryan kissed me goodnight before staying with his best man, he said, "This time tomorrow we'll be husband and wife. Nothing else matters." I wanted so badly to believe him, but deep down, I knew tomorrow would hurt in ways I couldn't even imagine. That night, after the rehearsal dinner, I went back to the hotel where Ryan and I had booked rooms. Following tradition, he stayed with his best man while I stayed alone. Before leaving, Ryan kissed me softly and said, "This time tomorrow, Emily, you'll be my wife. Nothing else matters." I smiled, but as soon as he walked away, the smile faded. I was about to get married without my family. My dad wouldn't be walking me down the aisle. My mom wouldn't be fixing my veil. My sister wouldn't be there to celebrate. When I got back to my room, I stared at my phone for a long time before dialing my dad's number one last time. My heart pounded with every ring until finally, he answered. "Hello." His voice sounded distracted. "Dad," I said, trying to hold back tears. "It's me. I just wanted to check. Are you still planning to walk me down the aisle tomorrow?" There was a long pause. Then he sighed. "Emily, I'm sorry. Your mother needs me to help with Chloe's party. There's just so much to do, and you know how important this is to your sister." My chest tightened. "More important than your oldest daughter's wedding?" "That's not fair," he said quickly. "We didn't realize the dates would conflict." "There is no conflict," I snapped. "You chose. That's what this is." Silence. Then coldly he said, "I'm sorry you feel that way. I hope you have a nice wedding." And just like that, he hung up. I sat on the edge of the bed, my phone still in my hand, staring at the wall. No tears came, just emptiness, like something inside me had finally broken. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. It was Naomi. "Just checking in. How are you feeling, bride-to-be?" I typed back, "I'm okay. Just looking forward to tomorrow." Her reply came fast. "About that, I'm so sorry. Something urgent came up. Family emergency. I might be a little late tomorrow, but I'll definitely be there before the ceremony. Don't worry." A flicker of unease hit me. Naomi had never been vague before. She was always clear, always dependable. "Is everything okay? Anything I can help with?" I texted, "All good. Just need to handle this. Get some sleep. Big day tomorrow." I wanted to believe her, but something felt off. To distract myself, I scrolled through social media. That's when I froze again. Chloe had posted another picture. This time a mirror selfie in a sparkly dress. The caption read, "Final fitting for tomorrow's big day. Can't wait to celebrate with everyone who matters." The location tag caught my eye. Bellamy's Boutique. It hit me like a punch. Just a few days earlier, Naomi had told me she needed to run an errand at Bellamy's. At the time I didn't think much of it. But now, with a growing sense of dread, I tapped the photo to see the likes and comments. And there it was. Naomi's username. She had liked the picture. Worse, she had left a comment just 30 minutes ago. "You look stunning. Can't wait for tomorrow." My heart dropped into my stomach. I smiled weakly at my reflection. "I just wish." "I know," she said gently, squeezing my hand. "But today is still your day. Focus on Ryan. Focus on the life you're starting. That's what matters most." Just then there was another knock at the door. Allison opened it, and to my surprise it was Mark Bennett, Ryan's dad, standing in his tuxedo. He looked nervous, his kind eyes meeting mine. "Emily," he said, "Ryan mentioned that your father, well, that he might not be here today. I wanted to offer. If you'd like someone to walk you down the aisle, I'd be honored." Fresh tears filled my eyes. "I would be honored too. Thank you." Mark nodded, clearly emotional. "The honor is mine. You've made my son happier than I've ever seen him. You're already family. Today just makes it official." For the first time in a long time I felt seen, valued, loved. As the wedding coordinator came to tell us it was time, I handed my phone to Allison. "Hold this for me. I don't want any distractions." "Don't worry," she said, slipping it into her bag. I even turned off the ringer. Taking a deep breath, I slipped my arm through Mark's. The music began. It was time to get married. The music began, soft and steady, echoing through the historic venue. My heart raced as I stood in the small waiting room, clutching my bouquet. Through the window I could see the guests taking their seats, laughter and chatter filling the air. "Ready?" asked Mark Bennett, Ryan's dad, offering his arm. I nodded, unable to speak. A lump had formed in my throat. This was supposed to be my father's role. For years I imagined him waiting at the door of the church, smiling proudly as he walked me toward my future. Instead, I was here with Ryan's father, a man who had only known me for 2 years, but who had shown me more kindness than my own dad ever had. I looped my arm through his, took a deep breath, and nodded. "Let's do this." As the doors opened, every head turned. The music swelled. I stepped into the aisle, the train of my dress trailing behind me. For a moment I felt like I was floating. Faces blurred as I moved forward, but I couldn't ignore what my eyes landed on. The front row of seats on my side. Empty. Those chairs had been reserved for my parents, my sister, and maybe an aunt or two, but they sat there untouched, a glaring reminder of their absence. I forced myself not to break. Not here. Not now. Instead, I focused on the end of the aisle. On Ryan. He was waiting at the altar, his brown eyes locked on mine, his face a mixture of awe, love, and absolute certainty. The moment I saw him, the ache in my chest softened, because no matter who was missing, he was there. He had always been there. Mark squeezed my arm gently, guiding me forward with pride. When we reached the altar, he placed my hand into Ryan's and whispered, "Take care of her." Ryan's grip tightened around mine. "Always," he said softly, only for me to hear. We faced our officiant, a close friend from college, who greeted the guests warmly before turning to us. The ceremony was simple, just like we had wanted. We had written our own vows. When it was Ryan's turn, his words made my eyes fill with tears. "Emily," he began, his voice steady but filled with emotion, "I promise to be your partner and equal in all things. I promise to celebrate your victories as if they were my own, and to stand by you through whatever challenges life brings. I promise to create a home where your worth is never questioned, and where you always know you are loved. You are the strongest person I know, and I am in awe of your resilience. Today I'm not just gaining a wife. I'm creating a family with you. One where love is unconditional, and support is never withheld. I love you exactly as you are." By the time he finished, I wasn't the only one crying. Several of our guests dabbed at their eyes. When it was my turn, my hands trembled as I unfolded my vow card. But when I looked into Ryan's eyes, the words came naturally. "Ryan," I said, my voice breaking at first, "you've shown me what real love looks like. You've been my safe place, my biggest supporter, and the one person who always made me feel like I was enough. With you, I've learned that family isn't just the people we're born to. It's the people who choose to love us. I promise to stand by you, to celebrate with you, to grieve with you, and to build a life filled with joy. Today I don't just marry you. I choose you. Every day for the rest of my life. There was a pause, the kind that feels almost sacred. Then the officiant smiled. By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Ryan, you may kiss your bride. Ryan pulled me close, kissed me deeply, and the room erupted into cheers and applause. The ceremony flowed into the reception, held in the same venue. The room sparkled with twinkling lights and floral centerpieces of lilies and hydrangeas. Despite the missing faces, the space felt full. Ryan's family embraced me as their own. Friends surrounded us with love, and laughter echoed off the walls. We had our first dance to At Last by Etta James, swaying slowly under the soft glow of the lights. I rested my head on Ryan's chest, closing my eyes, trying to memorize the feeling. When the song ended, Mark stepped forward. He extended his hand. "May I have this dance?" he asked gently. Fresh tears filled my eyes. It wasn't the father-daughter dance I had dreamed of, but in that moment it was everything I needed. As we danced, I whispered, "Thank you for everything today. You're family now," he said simply. "That's what family does." The night continued with speeches and laughter. Hannah, Ryan's sister, gave a toast that had everyone roaring with laughter. Linda told a heartfelt story about Ryan as a little boy. Our friends clinked glasses, made jokes, and filled the room with joy. And through it all, Ryan never let go of my hand. He seemed to sense every time my mind drifted to the empty seats. He squeezed my hand, kissed my cheek, reminded me silently that I wasn't alone. Finally, it was time to cut the cake. A beautiful three-tier creation with fresh flowers matching our centerpieces. Ryan and I posed for pictures, then placed our hands on the knife together. "Ready?" he whispered. I nodded. Together, we pressed the knife into the bottom tier. Guests clapped and cheered as we pulled the first slice free. For a brief moment, I felt happy, truly happy. Then my phone buzzed in the hidden pocket of my dress. First, I ignored it. This was my moment, my wedding day. But when it buzzed again and again, curiosity got the best of me. I discreetly pulled it out and glanced at the screen. A message from my mom. "We need to talk now." Below it, I saw the notifications. 36 missed calls. From my mom, my dad, even Chloe. All in the last hour. My stomach dropped. Ryan noticed the change in my expression. "Everything okay?" he whispered. I showed him the screen. He frowned. "Whatever it is, it can wait. This is our day." They made their choice. Part of me agreed. I wanted to shove the phone back into my dress and forget them. But another part, the part of me that still longed for my parents' love, that still hoped for reconciliation, hesitated. What if something's really wrong? I whispered. Ryan studied me for a moment, then sighed. "If you want to call them, I understand. But remember, you don't owe them your time today. This day is ours." I squeezed his hand. "Just 1 minute. I'll step outside. If it's nothing, I'll come right back." He nodded. "I'll be here." I slipped into the garden behind the venue, phone in hand, my heart racing. Taking a deep breath, I dialed my mom's number. She answered on the first ring, her voice frantic and tearful. "Emily, oh thank God. We've been trying to reach you for hours." "I was getting married," I said sharply. "What's so urgent?" Her voice cracked as she spoke. "It's Chloe. Daniel called off the engagement, right in the middle of the party. He said he couldn't go through with it, because Chloe told him what she did to you." I froze, the world tilting under me. "What do you mean, what she did to me?" Mom's breathing was shaky. "Chloe lied to us, Emily. About everything. She told us you didn't want us at your wedding. She showed us fake texts, saying you wanted a private ceremony with just Ryan's family, that you didn't consider us your family anymore. She even intercepted your invitations. She made us believe you excluded us." I sank onto a bench, gripping the phone tight. My voice shook. "Mom, I never said any of that. I begged you to come. I called, I left messages." "I know," she said softly. "Patrick confronted Chloe tonight. She admitted everything. She created fake texts, deleted your real ones, even showed Naomi messages claiming you'd replaced her as maid of honor. Emily, we are so sorry. We failed you." I sat there in shock, my heart pounding, trying to process the words. My whole life, Chloe had been the favorite. But this was more than jealousy. This was sabotage. And for the first time, I realized just how deep the betrayal ran. I sat there in the garden, phone pressed to my ear, unable to move. My mom's words echoed over and over in my head. Chloe lied. Chloe showed us fake texts. Chloe told us you didn't want us there. My hand shook. Mom, how could you believe her? How could you think I would ever exclude my own parents from my wedding? There was silence, then my dad's voice broke in. I hadn't realized the call was on speaker. Emily, we should have questioned it more. We should have called you directly instead of going through Chloe. But she was so convincing. She cried, she begged us to respect your wishes. She made us believe you wanted nothing to do with us. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I called you. I left voicemails. I asked if you were coming. You ignored me. We didn't ignore you on purpose, my mom said softly. Chloe had access to our phones. She deleted messages. She intercepted your invitation. We thought you had truly shut us out. My voice cracked, anger and pain mixing together. So instead of asking me directly, you just believed her? You just assumed your oldest daughter didn't want you there. My mom began to cry. Emily, we failed you. We see that now. We don't expect forgiveness, but we couldn't let another day go by without telling you the truth. I swallowed hard. Where's Chloe now? We don't know, my dad admitted. After Daniel broke off the engagement, she stormed out. She won't answer our calls. For a moment I sat in silence, my thoughts spinning. My wedding day, the day I had dreamed about since I was a little girl, had been overshadowed by lies, manipulation, and betrayal. There was one more question burning inside me. What about Naomi? I asked. Why did she go to Chloe's party instead of standing by me? Another pause. Then my mom's voice, heavy with guilt. Chloe told Naomi that you had replaced her as maid of honor. She showed Naomi fake texts, saying you had only asked her out of obligation, that you had found someone else who you connected with better. She convinced Naomi that it would be humiliating to show up to your wedding, so she went to Chloe's party instead. I closed my eyes, tears sliding down my cheeks. It all made sense now. Naomi's vague excuses, her sudden change of heart. She had been manipulated too. This goes beyond sibling rivalry, I whispered. This was calculated. This was cruel. You're right, my dad admitted. We should have seen it. We enabled her behavior for years by always giving in. And it led to this. We want to see you, my mom said suddenly. Tonight, if possible. We'll come to your hotel. Just to talk. To apologize in person. I let out a bitter laugh. You missed my ceremony. You missed my vows. You missed everything. And now you want to talk. Please, my dad said quietly. We know it won't fix what happened, but we need you to hear it from us face to face. I hesitated. Every part of me wanted to slam the door on this conversation forever. But another part, the part that still craved their love, needed to hear more. Finally I said, fine. Meet us in the hotel lobby at 11. When I walked back into the reception, Ryan was waiting for me. He took one look at my face and knew something was wrong. What happened? He asked, pulling me aside. I told him everything. Chloe's lies, the fake texts, the manipulation. His jaw tightened with every word. Emily, that's beyond cruel. That's not just jealousy. That's sabotage. I know, I whispered. They want to meet us at the hotel tonight. Are you sure you want to? He asked gently. We can wait until after the honeymoon. I shook my head. No, I need closure. I can't carry this with me for 2 weeks. He nodded. Then we'll face them together. Whatever you decide, I'll support you. At 11:15, my parents arrived at the hotel lobby. They looked exhausted, their eyes red and puffy from crying. My mom rushed toward me with her arms outstretched, but I stepped back. Let's go somewhere private, Ryan said, guiding us into a small meeting room off the lobby. The four of us sat in silence for a long moment. Finally, my dad spoke. Emily, we don't expect forgiveness. What we did, believing Chloe, missing your wedding, it's unforgivable. But we need you to know how deeply sorry we are. I stared at them, my voice tight. Sorry doesn't change the fact that you weren't there. Sorry doesn't change that you believed Chloe's lies without ever asking me directly. You're right, my mom whispered, tears spilling down her cheeks. We failed you as parents. Not just today but for years. We favored Chloe, we ignored your achievements, and when Chloe told us you wanted nothing to do with us, part of us believed it. Because deep down we knew we had failed you so badly that maybe you didn't want us there. So you just accepted it. I said bitterly, without fighting for me, without even trying. We were cowards, my dad admitted. It was easier to believe Chloe's story than to face the truth about how badly we had neglected you. Where is Chloe now? I asked. We don't know, my dad said. She disappeared after the party. She's not answering. I shook my head, overwhelmed. I don't understand how she could do this. We had our differences, but this is another level. My mom's voice was small. I think she's always been jealous of you. Your intelligence, your independence, your genuine relationships. We spoiled her, made her the center of attention, but deep down she wanted what came naturally to you. Real connections. Real accomplishments. Ryan spoke for the first time. That might explain her feelings, but it doesn't excuse her actions. What she did was deliberate and destructive. You're right, my dad agreed. There is no excuse. We enabled her by always giving in, by never holding her accountable. For the first time I looked at my parents, really looked at them. They seemed smaller somehow, weighed down by guilt and shame. I can't forgive you tonight, I said finally. I don't know if I ever fully can. Missing my wedding, that's not something you can erase. But if you're truly committed to change, maybe we can build something new going forward. Both of them nodded quickly, tears in their eyes. That means therapy, I continued. Not just for Chloe, but for you. For all of us. Years of neglect don't disappear overnight. Anything, my mom said immediately. We'll do anything. And Chloe needs professional help too, I added. What she did. It goes beyond normal sibling rivalry. We know, my dad said softly. When we find her, getting her help will be our first priority. We talked for another hour. Painful conversations. Hard truths. No magical reconciliation. But maybe the start of something different. As Ryan and I finally headed upstairs, drained but strangely calm, he squeezed my hand. Are you okay? He asked. I thought about it. Not yet, I admitted. But maybe I will be. That night, lying beside my new husband, I realized something important. My wedding day had been broken, twisted, sabotaged. But in that breaking I found clarity. I wasn't just Ryan's wife now. I was a woman who knew her worth, who was no longer willing to beg for scraps of love from people who couldn't give it freely. 6 months had passed since my wedding. Ryan and I had settled into married life, learning the rhythms of being true partners. We went on a honeymoon in Greece, where we spent 2 weeks exploring ruins, swimming in clear waters, and healing from everything that had happened. For the first time in a long time I felt peace. But when we returned, the real work began. True to their word, my parents started therapy. They each went individually, and then they invited me to join family sessions. First, I didn't want to. The wounds were still fresh, and part of me didn't trust them. But eventually I agreed. Every Thursday evening, we sat together in the office of Dr. Patterson, a therapist who specialized in family estrangement. She reminded us often, healing is not linear. There will be progress and there will be setbacks. The important thing is the commitment to the process. Some sessions ended in tears. Some ended in silence. But slowly I started to see cracks in the wall I had built around my heart. My parents were showing up. They were trying. 3 days after my wedding, Chloe finally called my parents from a hotel room. She was hiding, ashamed, and afraid to face the consequences of her actions. My parents convinced her to come home and got her into therapy as well. It took 2 months before I agreed to see her. We met at a quiet cafe halfway between our homes. I was nervous walking in, my stomach tied in knots. Chloe sat at a corner table, her hair pulled back, her shoulders hunched. She looked smaller somehow, less radiant than I remembered. When she saw me, her eyes filled with tears. Emily, she whispered. I sat down across from her, folding my hands tightly in my lap. Why? Was all I could manage. She took a deep breath. I don't know where to begin. Saying sorry feels too small for what I did. But I've been working with my therapist, and I need to tell you the truth. Her voice trembled. The simple answer is jealousy, but it's more complicated than that. Growing up, I always felt like I had to be perfect. The pretty one, the performer, the star. Mom and Dad praised me publicly, but privately they always compared me to you. Why can't you be more focused like Emily? Why can't you choose a stable career like your sister? I felt like I was living on a stage, performing all the time, terrified of slipping. I frowned. Chloe, I always thought they favored you completely. They did, she admitted. But their favor came with conditions. I had to keep shining or I'd lose it. You, on the other hand, you built a real life. You had real friends. You achieved things that didn't depend on applause. I envied that. I envied you. Her hand shook as she gripped her coffee cup. When you got engaged to Ryan, I saw how happy you were. How complete your life seemed. And I hated it. I couldn't stand that you had everything I wanted. So, I tried to destroy it. I wanted the attention, the spotlight, even if it meant taking your joy away. Tears welled in her eyes. It was petty. It was cruel. It was unforgivable. I sat there, stunned, anger and sorrow warring inside me. Finally I said, "You're right. It was unforgivable." Her face crumpled. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I understand what I did. And I'm working with my therapist to make sure I never act like that again." That first conversation was painful and awkward, but it was also a beginning. In the months that followed, Chloe kept going to therapy. She moved out of our parents' house and started her first real job. Not in theater or entertainment, but as an administrative assistant at a small company. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady. For the first time, she was learning how to build a life without being in the spotlight. Meanwhile, my relationship with my parents began to shift. For years, our conversations had been centered around Chloe, her auditions, her performances, her accomplishments. But now, for the first time, they asked about me. My mom started calling just to ask about my work. My dad sent me articles about biomedical engineering, highlighting the parts he thought I'd find interesting. They asked about Ryan. They asked about me. It wasn't perfect. The scars were still there. But for the first time in my life, I felt seen. Then there was Naomi. When she found out the truth about Chloe's lies, she was devastated. She sent flowers, emails, long texts filled with apologies. I ignored them all for weeks. The hurt was still too raw. Finally, I agreed to a phone call. Her voice shook as she said, "Emily, I should have called you directly. I should have known you would never replace me without talking to me first. We've been friends for too long." I had no excuse. I believed Chloe without even asking you. And that's what hurts the most, isn't it? That I didn't trust you. "Yes," I said simply. "That's what hurts the most." "I can't undo it," she whispered. "But I want to spend as long as it takes rebuilding your trust if you'll let me." It wasn't easy. Rebuilding trust never is. But slowly, step by step, we began talking again. First, just occasional texts. Then coffee once a month. The closeness we had before was gone. But something new was forming. Ironically, the person who became closest to me was Allison, the friend who had stepped in at the last minute on my wedding day. She had shown me more loyalty in one morning than others had in years. We started meeting for lunch regularly, and soon she became part of my inner circle. 1 year after the wedding, Ryan and I decided to host a small dinner party at our apartment. Just family and close friends. My parents came, bringing a photo album filled with pictures from my childhood, photos I'd never seen before. They had taken the time to gather them to honor me. It meant more than I could say. Chloe came too. She was quieter than usual but more genuine. She gave me a thoughtful gift, something small but personal. That night, Ryan stood up to make a toast. He clinked his glass, smiled at me and said, "Emily and I have some news. We wanted to wait until tonight to share it. We're expecting. The baby is due in June." The room erupted with cheers. My mom cried happy tears. My dad beamed with pride. Chloe hugged me tightly, whispering in my ear, "You're going to be an amazing mother." Later that night, after everyone left, Ryan asked me softly, "Are you happy with how things are now with your family?" I thought for a moment. "I'm at peace with it," I said honestly. "It's not perfect. There are still moments when the old hurt resurfaces, but we're building something new, something healthier. That's enough for now." I placed a hand on my still flat stomach. "And with the baby coming, I want to break the cycle. Our child will never wonder if they're loved or if they're enough." Ryan smiled, kissing my forehead. "That's exactly why you'll be an incredible mom." Pregnancy changed everything. The moment I saw those 2 pink lines on the test, my whole world tilted. Suddenly, it wasn't just about me and Ryan anymore. There was a new life coming, someone who would depend on us for everything. I promised myself that day, my child would never feel the way I had growing up. They would never question if they were loved. They would never compete for attention. They would never feel second best. When we shared the pregnancy news with our families, the reactions were overwhelming. Ryan's mom cried happy tears, hugging me tightly. His dad lifted me off the ground in excitement. His sister, Hannah, squealed so loud the neighbors probably heard. My parents looked stunned at first, then emotional. My mom touched my belly gently, whispering, "A grandchild, our first. Emily, we're so proud of you." It was bittersweet. A part of me wanted to snap back, "You weren't proud at my wedding." But I stayed quiet. I was learning that sometimes peace was more powerful than anger. Chloe was different too. She didn't make it about her, didn't try to grab the spotlight. Instead, she smiled softly and said, "I hope I can be the kind of aunt you and the baby both deserve." For once, I believed her. As the months passed, Ryan and I began to dream about the kind of family we wanted to create. We talked about Saturday morning pancakes, bedtime stories, and holiday traditions that would center around love, not performance. We talked about honesty, about communication, about making sure our child always felt heard. Ryan laughed one night as he rubbed my belly. "This kid's going to grow up so spoiled with love, they won't even know what to do with it." "Good," I said firmly. "That's how it should be." Meanwhile, family therapy continued. My parents were learning to listen without defensiveness. They admitted to the years of favoritism, the neglect, the constant comparisons. It wasn't easy to hear, but it was necessary. One evening, during a particularly emotional session, my dad looked at me with tears in his eyes. "Emily, I realize now that love is not just about showing up when it's convenient. It's about showing up when it matters most. I failed you on the most important day of your life. I will spend the rest of my life proving to you that I will never fail you again." For the first time in years, I believed him. Chloe was making progress too. Therapy was helping her unpack her jealousy, her need for validation, her habit of manipulating others. She had taken accountability not just with me but with Naomi and several of her old friends. It was slow work, but it was real. Naomi and I were rebuilding too. We weren't the inseparable duo we had once been, but little by little, we were finding our way back. She came to my ultrasound appointment one day, holding my hand as I heard the baby's heartbeat for the first time. She cried harder than I did. "Emily," she whispered, "thank you for letting me be here. I'll never take your trust for granted again." And I believed her. When the baby shower rolled around, it became a symbol of everything that had changed. Ryan's family and my parents worked together to plan it. Chloe baked cupcakes. Naomi helped decorate. Allison, my unexpected maid of honor, made a scrapbook of pictures from our wedding and honeymoon to display at the shower. I stood in the middle of the decorated room, looking around at the people who had once been so fractured, and for the first time I felt something close to wholeness. My mom gave a speech, her voice trembling. "Emily, this baby is lucky to have you as a mother, and we are lucky to have a second chance to be the kind of family you always deserved." I cried. Hard. But this time the tears weren't from grief. They were from hope. When the time came, it was long and exhausting. 20 hours of labor. At one point I didn't think I could go on, but Ryan was there every second, holding my hand, whispering encouragement. And finally, with one last push, our baby entered the world. A little girl. Perfect. Healthy. The nurse placed her on my chest, and I felt a love so fierce it nearly broke me. Ryan cried openly, kissing both of us over and over. "We did it," he whispered. "She's here." We named her Grace Olivia Bennett. Grace because she represented the healing we'd found. Olivia, after my grandmother, the only family member who had ever truly supported me growing up. When my parents walked into the hospital room, they both burst into tears. My mom touched Grace's tiny hand and whispered, "She's beautiful." My dad's voice broke as he said, "She's perfect, Emily. Just perfect." Chloe stood back at first, hesitant. I motioned her closer. She leaned in, her eyes shining with tears. "Hi, Grace," she whispered softly. "I'm your Aunt Chloe. And I promise you I will never hurt you the way I hurt your mom." It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. But it was something. That first night in the hospital, while Ryan slept in the chair beside me, I held Grace close and whispered to her, "You will always know you are loved. You will always know you are enough. You will never doubt your place in this family." She made a tiny cooing sound and I smiled through my tears. In that moment I knew the cycle ended with me. Bringing Grace home was both terrifying and beautiful. Sleepless nights, endless diapers, constant feedings. But also first smiles, tiny fingers curling around mine. The overwhelming joy of watching Ryan become the most devoted father. Our home was no longer quiet. It was filled with life, with love, with hope. And as I watched Grace grow, I realized something important. My family's betrayal had shaped me, but it didn't define me. What defined me was how I chose to love now, how I chose to build a new future. And in that choice I found freedom. Motherhood was nothing like I expected. I had read the books, listened to the podcasts, taken the classes, but nothing, absolutely nothing, could prepare me for the reality. The sleepless nights, the constant crying, the fear of doing something wrong. Yet at the same time I had never known this kind of love before. Love that was bone deep. Love that kept me going even when I was running on 2 hours of sleep and cold coffee. As the weeks passed, though, the exhaustion started to catch up to me. One night at 3 a.m, I sat in the rocking chair with Grace screaming in my arms. My body ached, my eyes burned with tears, and I whispered, "I can't do this. I can't." Ryan woke up instantly. He rushed over, gently taking Grace from me. "Yes, you can," he said firmly. "But you don't have to do it alone. Go lie down. I've got her." I stumbled into bed, tears streaming down my face, and realized something important. Love doesn't mean doing everything yourself. Love means letting someone else carry the weight with you. My parents surprised me too. They visited every week, not just to see Grace, but to help. My mom cooked meals, folded laundry, even rocked Grace to sleep so I could shower. My dad took long walks with her in the stroller, humming lullabies. It was strange, seeing them show up in ways they never had for me. One afternoon, as my mom folded baby clothes, she said quietly, "I wish I had been this present for you, Emily. I can't change the past, but I'm grateful I get to do better now with Grace." Her honesty broke something open in me. For the first time, I realized she wasn't just trying to be forgiven. She was trying to truly change. Chloe had been doing well. She was steady in her job, going to therapy, building healthier habits. But then came her test. She called me one night, her voice trembling. "Emily, I messed up. I relapsed." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "I didn't lie," she said quickly. "Not like before. But at work, I tried to manipulate a situation to get credit for something that wasn't fully mine. My boss found out. I almost lost my job." I sighed, torn between anger and compassion. "Chloe, this is exactly what you've been working on in therapy." "I know," she whispered, crying. "And I feel awful. I don't want to be that person anymore. I'm telling you because I don't want to hide it. I want to be better." Her honesty shocked me. Old Chloe would have buried the truth, twisted the story, or blamed someone else. This Chloe admitted it, faced it. For the first time, I thought maybe she really was changing. A week later, Chloe came over to visit Grace. She sat on the couch watching me rock the baby and said softly, "You're a good mom, Emily. The kind I wish I had." I blinked, startled. "We had the same mom." "Not really," she said. "You got the critical, dismissive version. I got the doting, praising version. Neither of us got balance. And I think that's why I turned out the way I did." Her words hit me hard. She was right. We had grown up in the same house, but we hadn't had the same parents. "Maybe," I said finally, "but we both have the chance to do better now." She nodded, tears in her eyes. "I'm trying. I really am." Naomi too became part of Grace's life. She visited often, always bringing little gifts, books, toys, tiny clothes. But more than that, she brought consistency. She showed up when she said she would. She kept her promises. One afternoon, as we watched Grace nap in her crib, Naomi turned to me and said, "I know I betrayed you once, and I may never fully earn your trust back, but I will spend the rest of my life trying. You and Grace, you're my family." I squeezed her hand, feeling tears prick my eyes. "You're mine too." When Grace was 6 months old, we hosted a small family gathering. Just dinner, nothing fancy. But it was the first time my parents, Chloe and Naomi, had all been in the same room since the wedding. I was nervous, afraid old wounds would resurface. But something surprising happened. Instead of tension, there was warmth. My dad held Grace, bouncing her gently. My mom told funny stories. Chloe made everyone laugh with a silly impression. Naomi helped in the kitchen, moving around like she had always belonged. At one point I stood in the doorway watching them and I realized something. This was the family I had always wanted. Not perfect, not flawless, but present, trying, healing. Of course, healing isn't a straight line. Later that night, as we cleared the table, my mom made a comment without thinking. Chloe had been talking about her job and Mom said, "We always knew you'd land on your feet, Chloe. You've always been so talented." The word stung. For a moment I was 16 again, invisible in my own home. Chloe noticed too. She put down her fork and said firmly, "Mom, don't. Emily's accomplishments deserve recognition too. Stop making it a competition. That's what hurt us in the first place." The room went quiet. My mom flashed embarrassed. "You're right. I'm sorry." She turned to me. "Emily, I am proud of you. I always should have said it, but I didn't. I'll keep saying it now." Her words didn't erase the years of silence, but they mattered. More than she realized. That night, after everyone left, Ryan and I sat on the couch, Grace asleep upstairs. "Do you think it'll last?" Ryan asked. "The progress, the healing?" I thought about it. "I don't know. But for the first time I feel like they're not just saying the right things. They're doing the work. And that gives me hope." He smiled. "You're stronger than you know, Emily. You've turned pain into something beautiful." I leaned into him, whispering, "I just want Grace to grow up never doubting that she's loved." And in that moment I knew we were on the right path. Time has a way of softening even the sharpest edges. By the time Grace turned 1, life had settled into a rhythm. Morning bottles, evening storybooks, tiny footsteps starting to wobble across the living room floor. Ryan and I were tired, yes, but we were happy. Deeply happy. And slowly my family was becoming part of that happiness too. We hosted Grace's first birthday party in our backyard. Balloons everywhere, a little smash cake just for her, and close friends and family gathered around. My parents came early to help set up. Chloe arrived with handmade decorations she'd spent all week working on. Naomi brought her camera and took photos all day, capturing every smile, every laugh, every frosting-smeared moment. As I looked around the yard, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, belonging. For so long my family had been a source of pain. But on that sunny afternoon, watching Grace clap her frosting-covered hands while everyone cheered, I realized something had shifted. The wounds were still there, but healing was happening. 2 weeks later, Chloe faced her hardest test yet. She had started dating someone new, a man named Tyler. First things seemed good. But soon she began to notice red flags, manipulation, subtle control, little digs at her self-worth. The old Chloe would have ignored them, desperate for love and attention. But this new version of Chloe called me one night, her voice steady but nervous. "Emily," she said, "I ended it. I told him I deserved better." And for the first time in my life, I actually believed that. I sat there in stunned silence. Then I smiled, pride swelling in my chest. "Chloe, that's huge. I'm so proud of you." She laughed softly, almost shyly. "I learned from you. From watching how you built boundaries, how you refused to accept less than you deserved. You showed me it was possible." For the first time, I saw her not as the jealous sister who had sabotaged my wedding, but as a woman finally learning to stand on her own 2 feet. Meanwhile, my parents kept showing up. Therapy had softened them, humbled them. They were still learning, still catching themselves when old habits crept in, but they were different. One evening after babysitting Grace, my dad said quietly, "Emily, I know I can't change the fact that I wasn't there for your wedding. That will always be my greatest regret. But I want you to know, I see you now. I see the woman you've become. And I couldn't be prouder." It was late, and I was tired, but those words landed in a place I didn't even realize was still aching. I hugged him, whispering, "Thank you." Naomi gave me something unexpected, too. One afternoon she handed me a letter. "Read it when you're ready," she said. That night, after Grace was asleep, I opened it. Inside was a long, heartfelt apology. She wrote about how deeply she regretted believing Chloe, about how she should have trusted me instead of doubting me. But more than that, she wrote about her commitment to our friendship moving forward. "Emily," she wrote, "I don't just want to rebuild what we had. I want to build something stronger, something that can withstand storms. Because you're not just my friend. You're my chosen sister." Tears blurred the page as I read her words. For so long, I had felt abandoned by the people who mattered most. Now they were finding their way back to me. One night after putting Grace to bed, I sat on the porch with Ryan watching the stars. "Do you ever think about the wedding?" he asked quietly. "Every day," I admitted. For a long time it haunted me. The empty seats, the silence where my family should have been. But now it feels like another life, like something painful we had to walk through to get here. He squeezed my hand. "If you could go back and change it, make them show up that day, would you?" I thought about it, really thought about it, and then I shook my head. No, because their absence showed me the truth. And the truth pushed us all toward change. If they had come, maybe nothing would have changed. Maybe we'd still be living in the same cycle. Ryan smiled softly. "So their absence gave you the family you always wanted?" "Yes," I whispered. "In a way it did." Forgiveness is tricky. People think it's a single moment, a switch you flip. But I've learned it's not. It's a choice you make over and over again. I hadn't forgiven everything. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I had forgiven enough to move forward. Forgiven enough to let Grace grow up with grandparents who adored her. Forgiven enough to let Chloe become the aunt she always should have been. Forgiven enough to let Naomi stand by my side again. And most importantly, forgiven enough to find peace within myself. 1 year after Grace's birth, we took a family photo. Ryan holding Grace, me standing beside him, my parents, Chloe, and Naomi all around us. As the photographer snapped the picture, I realized something important. This wasn't the family I had once dreamed of. Perfect, polished, without cracks. This was better. Because it was real. Messy, flawed, imperfect, but full of people who were finally trying. And maybe in the end that was all I had ever wanted. If you had told me 2 years ago that I'd be here, married to the man of my dreams, holding a beautiful daughter in my arms, surrounded by a family that was trying to heal, I wouldn't have believed you. Back then, all I could see was betrayal. All I could feel was pain. But sometimes life takes the ugliest things, the most broken moments, and turns them into something new. I used to replay my wedding day in my head every night. The empty chairs. The silence where my parents and sister should have been. The ache in my chest as I walked down the aisle without them. But now, when I think back, I see something different. I see Ryan's smile, steady and sure. I see Hannah, his sister, holding my hand, whispering encouragement. I see Allison stepping up as my maid of honor at the very last second, proving what true loyalty looks like. I see the friends who chose me, who showed up, who made that day shine despite the shadows. And I realize now that day wasn't ruined. It was reshaped. It became the start of something bigger, something stronger. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Truth hurts, but lies destroy. For years my family lived inside lies. Lies of favoritism, of silence, of pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. Chloe's lies nearly tore me apart. Naomi's silence nearly cost me my best friend. My parents' denial nearly cost me my family. But when the truth finally came out, when everything cracked open, that was when healing began. It wasn't easy. It wasn't quick. But it was real. And I'd rather live in painful truth than in comfortable lies any day. My sister is not the villain she once was in my mind. She was broken, lost, consumed by jealousy and fear. She hurt me in ways I thought I could never forgive. But she chose to face herself. She chose therapy, honesty, accountability. And every day she keeps choosing to be better. We may never have the perfect sisterly bond one once dreamed of, but we have something more important now: honesty, respect, a foundation we can build on. When she holds Grace, when she whispers to her, "I'll never hurt you like I hurt your mom," I see hope. I see change. And I believe it. For so long, I wanted my parents to be someone they weren't. I wanted them to be protective, supportive, proud of me in the ways I needed. And they weren't. Not when I was a child. Not at my wedding. But now they are showing up. Not perfectly. Not without mistakes. But with effort. And maybe that's enough. Sometimes, love isn't about rewriting the past. Sometimes it's about choosing the present. Choosing to do better today than you did yesterday. And for the first time, I believe my parents are choosing me. Naomi's betrayal cut deep. But her return has been one of the sweetest surprises of my life. She didn't just say she was sorry. She proved it. Through consistency, through honesty, through being there not only for me but for Grace. The truth is, some friendships end. Some never recover. But some come back stronger. Naomi and I are proof of that. Through it all, the one person who never wavered was Ryan. He held me when I cried. He reminded me of my worth when I doubted everything. He stood beside me, never once questioning if I was worth the fight. He was the anchor in the storm, the safe harbor I always needed. And when I see him holding Grace, when I watch him read her bedtime stories or rock her to sleep, I realize just how lucky I am. My wedding day wasn't the fairy tale I once imagined, but my marriage is everything I dreamed of and more. The most important thing I've learned through all of this is that cycles can be broken. The cycle of favoritism, the cycle of silence, the cycle of betrayal. It doesn't have to continue. It ends with me. Grace will grow up knowing she is loved. She will grow up knowing she is enough just as she is. She will grow up in a family that values honesty, respect, and kindness. Because pain may shape us, but it does not have to define us. If you're listening to this, maybe you felt the sting of betrayal too. Maybe your family has let you down. Maybe the people you trusted most weren't there when you needed them. And if that's true, I want you to hear me clearly. You are not defined by who abandoned you. You are not broken beyond repair. And you can build something new, something beautiful, even out of the ashes. It won't be easy. It won't be quick. But it will be worth it. Because in the end, family isn't just about blood. Family is about who shows up, who fights for you, who grows with you. And sometimes the ones who once broke you can become the ones who help you heal. As I watch Grace grow, as I hold her tiny hand in mine, I know this. I am not the girl who was left behind on her wedding day. I am the woman who rose anyway. I am the mother who chose love. I am the wife who found a partner in every sense of the word. And I am the daughter, the sister, the friend, who learned that forgiveness is not weakness but strength. This is my story, and it's still being written. But one thing is certain. It will never again be written in silence or in lies. It will be written in truth, in love, and in peace.